Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Honored guests, Dr. Crenshaw Logel. Good morning, and welcome to a very important event for all of us, we think. The conference on seeking justice beyond our shores. The case for U.S. ratification of the first optional protocol to the ICCPR, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. The conference is sponsored by the National Judicial Conduct and Disability Law Project, of which Dr. Crenshaw Logel is the executive director and of which I am the president for the executive committee. It's also sponsored by the Rod Logel Center for Justice, where you are right now, and where a likeness of me is. And critically, it's also sponsored by the United Nations Association of Atlanta and the United Nations Association Council of Organizations. That's going to be an important linkage that I'll speak of here in a moment. You know, all of us came to this conference as individuals. We have our own parochial issues and have been victimized as individuals by a system that we perceive as corrupt. While we're here at the conference voluntarily, none of us volunteered to be abused, harassed, or even assaulted by our own government. All of that has caused a slew of emotion. The anger, the frustration, the bitterness, and many times the depression. The overwhelming emotion during a time of true trauma for many of us. For some of us, for many years. Many actually have PTSD from their experience with the American judicial system. That is a travesty in and of itself, showing one of the results of the basic corruption of the system. So we come into this movement with our own parochial issues and our own emotions, both of which have brought us into a movement whose primary purpose is what? Is it a group that we can use to vent to each other? Is it a group that we can use to bitch to each other? Is it a group that we can use to preach to the choir over and over and over again? For many of us, for many years, that is in fact what it has been. Our movement, which has essentially been a non-movement, has instead been a base for social, or more accurately, antisocial communication and even hate. what do we really want that movement to be? That movement was born of our experience in the past. That movement was born of those emotions, that trauma. Many times those years of abuse and horror that we have experienced at the hands of our own employees and representatives. The people who work for us, theoretically, have been the ones abusing us. Now, I don't know about you, but the jobs that I have been in, the professions that I have been in, have been pretty aggressive about getting rid of, terminating, firing, disciplining those whenever an employee would abuse, harass, assault, and even murder the employer. Can you imagine? Just for one moment, one of the positions that you've been in one of the organizations, if there was, in fact, an employee there who spent their time, their energy, their calendar, and in fact, their power to aggress against the employer, to harass him, to assault her, to subjugate her or him to a constant slew of assaultive language, assaultive behavior, assaultive organization, and every day did something to that employer to cause heartache, hardship, bankruptcy, and eventually to destroy the very organization that they are a part of and have been hired for by the employer. At what point would the employee have been disciplined or fired by that employer? I would submit to you pretty doggone early in the process. And somehow I doubt that that employee would have been able to survive and flourish and continue their campaign of oppression, harassment, and assault upon that employer for 20 to 30 to 40 years. And then retire and let that employer continue to pay them in their retirement. That is what we have done. That is what the American voting constituency has done for the system of American injustice. Now, to be fair, not each of us has been solely responsible for that. But all of us have a piece of it. All of us share in what has become, in my opinion, my humble opinion, has become a cesspool of a travesty of justice. And we have spent 20, 30, 40 years explaining and complaining about it. We have raised awareness. Believe me, it's raised. We have put information out there. It's out there. We have talked until we are blue in the face. And I see those faces out there. All of you have been there, have experienced that, and me too, have been a part of that. If we have come to this conference today to vent to each other, to bitch about the corrupt system, to tell as many people as I can what my experience has been and how terrible and unique my parochial issues are. If that's what we have come to this conference for, then we will leave the conference tomorrow afternoon no better off, no farther ahead than when we got here. That, in my mind, is almost a waste of time. Now, don't get me wrong. There is value in raising awareness. There is value in venting and de-stressing those incidents and that experience. There is value in preaching to the choir at times. I would submit to you that we've gotten all the value from that we're going to get. And that it is time now to move on to the next step. It is time now to move from the past focus that we have had and referring to the future, to change our paradigm and focus on the future, referring to the past. It is time to move from the emotional basis that we have operated from to the intellectual basis that we can problem solve from. It is time for us to be the special people that we are, to do something special, to be something special, to finally make a difference. You can start that. You can move on to the next step with that today. I ask you, I challenge you to be that special person that you are, and to move on and help the movement to actually do something novel and move, to actually cause and influence positive change in the American system of justice. My last comment, ladies and gentlemen. We each have our issues. We're interested in your issues. I am certainly, but not today and not tomorrow. What we're interested in from you all collectively is the teamwork, the leverage, regardless of what group you come from, whether you're an academician, a retired cop, God forbid, a lawyer,
Watch it.
or any other professional. Whatever you are and whoever you are, you can be a productive, contributing team member to a movement that finally gets off its ass and moves. Thank you for being here. I thank Dr. Crenshaw Logel for hosting. I wish I could be there in person. Unfortunately, that was not possible. So I ask you to tolerate the talking head today and tomorrow. I hope this is a good conference. I hope it is a productive conference. And I really hope by the time I give the closing remarks at the end of today, that by the time you leave tomorrow, that we as a group are farther ahead than when we as individuals came into this conference. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Chief.